So really, and the idea behind this is that we're only going to spend an hour today, no more than an hour today. So all of this was by way of introduction. Really, what I wanted to spend our time talking about is how do we identify ourselves, right? How do we identify ourselves, and how do we want people to identify us, right? So what I mean by this is that, and I have my own position, and maybe I'll summarize my position at the end or go off on a tangent like I tend to do. But you have people who will say, they want to call you a convert or they want to call you a revert, and so how do you, if somebody says, what, you're a Muslim, right? Or, a third party is speaking about you and they like, is that guy a Muslim, right? They're like, is that guy a Muslim? How do you want convert, revert, something else? What are your thoughts, Adam?
I mean, I prefer just to be called a Muslim,
Mm,
honestly. But if I have to choose one of those two, I prefer convert, just because I don't know if it's just in the English language and it's not really part of the definition of the word, but the word has like negative, you know, connotations to like, the normal like American person's psyche. They hear that word and they think you're going backwards.
right.
And we're not I mean, I guess in some ways, we're going closer to, our original being, but we're not really going backwards. We're growing and going forward. So I would prefer between the two convert, but
Mm,
I also I have a friend who, I don't think I'm maybe there yet. I've only been Muslim 9 years, but I have a friend who's been Muslim. I think he actually converted the year I was born. So it's been 30 years or more. And that he's been Muslim, and he still gets called the revert or the convert. And he's like, when am I not a revert or a convert, and when am I just a Muslim?
mm-hmm.
Because he has more knowledge than most of the people I meet at the mosque. So it's like, why is he a revert? Why does he have to be described that way? I don't know. Just my
No,
answer.
absolutely. Alhamdulillah. CJ, can you hear? Are you with us?
Yes.
Inshallah. Your internet is dodgy, man. But what about yourself? What are your thoughts on that? I think it froze up again. See, yeah, now you're back now, inshallah.
Okay.
Actually, it's not. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
Really just as Muslim. Just want to be Muslim. That's all I
No,
want to be known
alhamdulillah.
as is Muslim. That's it.
Alhamdulillah. Your internet came and went, but it came back at the perfect time. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I don't know what was being said before that, but
Oh,
that's the perfect message. And alhamdulillah, hopefully he'll be able to join us with no problem again, inshallah. But the reality is that Adam, what you said is true, and that is, and I don't know the brother that you're speaking about, but this idea of when are we just Muslim, right? When are we just Muslim? And you said something else earlier, and what you said earlier was, like you're a minority within a minority within a minority. And that term convert keeps us there. It keeps us there. So CJ, I just want to check your internet. Is everything working right now? I don't.
for the moment,
I was just
my
I didn't.
but let me try
No, inshallah, we're gonna have to get you to go chill out at Starbucks. I'll do that. I'll just, but no, that best, mashallah, no problem. But no, what I was saying is that, one of the things, and you brought up a good point as well, Adam. You said that, this guy, this brother, he has more knowledge than the average person, and yet they still consider him a revert or a convert or whatever the case might be. And this is a reality, and these terms, they insinuate that we're not like others, or we don't have the pedigree of someone else, or that we don't have we're not real. At the end of the day, it's almost like we're not real, or we're not authentic Muslims. And it is an indication of, and I don't like to speak about myself. There's some things that I don't want to press upon, but by Allah's permission, I've been able to study something of this deen, right? And yet, I'm in a discussion with somebody, and they say, "Oh, you need to go ask Imam so and so from such and such community," not because this brother that they wanted me to go speak to, he's literally 20 years younger than me, right? And not only is he 20 years younger than me, I've studied the same things that he studied. But the difference is that he was born and raised as a Muslim, and so he is more authentic than I am. He is more knowledgeable than me just by pedigree. And it's a real problem. And so what you ultimately said is, and CJ said as well, is that it's enough that we are just Muslim. Now, I do want to make a comment. Do you know what revert means? Do you actually know what it means?
Like the actual like definition in the dictionary.
Yeah, yeah, or I
I
mean, close enough to it.
I believe it is just to return to a previous state, or you know.
And then that's pretty much it. And that's the point that, I'm glad that that's exactly right. It means that you left something and you revert back to it, right? And the insinuation of somebody calls us reverts, or I even hear people call themselves reverts. What basically that means is that we apostated and we came back to Islam. That's really what the term means. And the people, they'll use the hadith, and it's a Sahih hadith. It's found in Bukhari, Muslim, where the Prophet ﷺ said, "Kullu mawludin yuladu ala al-fitra." Every child is born, or every baby is born, meaning every human is born upon the fitra, al-fitra, right? And so they say the fitra is Islam, but the fitra is not Islam, right? It's not, first and foremost. But they say that since we're born upon the fitrah, this means that we're born as Muslims, and then our parents make us Jews and Christians or whatever they like, and then we come back to Islam later on, right? And so this is how they justify the term revert. But again, what that insinuates is that we apostated at some point in our lives, and now we're coming back to Islam. And this is a problem for me. I'm glad, I spoke to you. I actually I think I just asked it on the fly, about this yesterday or the day before, and you said you don't like to use the term revert, and I was like, thankfully, right? Thankfully,
Yeah.
because this is it creates this problem immediately. It immediately creates this problem because I mean, when do you first remember hearing about Islam?
Uh, I mean, I knew Muslims like in elementary school,
Oh, okay,
but
wow.
I didn't really know like I just knew they were Muslims. I didn't know what that was. So really, 9/11 probably.
Allah
Yeah,
Akbar.
yeah.
Okay. How about you, CJ? I hear that you're with us, even though we don't have the video, which is
Yeah,
probably good.
I turned the camera off to hopefully make the connection a little bit better.
It seems to be.
I want to say I heard about Islam for the first time when I was like 19,
Mm,
maybe a month or two before I had taken Shahada. It wasn't
okay.
long after you first introduced me and sent me to the library.
Alhamdulillah.
It
Alhamdulillah.
wasn't long, and that's just. I was searching. I was searching for God. I've been doing that my whole life, honestly, and it just rang true and felt real.
Now,
Thankfully, Allah opened my heart.
the reason that I asked the question is because, was there a point in your life? Was there a point in your life where you said, "I'm not a Muslim"? Adam, was there a point in your life where you said, I know what Islam is, and I am leaving this faith. I'm not, I don't want to say a time in your life when you said, "I'm not a Muslim." Obviously, there's a time in all of our lives because all of us entered into Islam. But the question is there a time when you said to yourself, I believe this and I'm walking away from it?
No.
How about you, CJ?
Never.
Never, right? And I'm in the same camp. There's never been a time in my life where I said, I believe in all of this, but I am going to do my own thing. I'm going to be a Christian or a Jew or whatever the case might be. When I heard the message of Islam and I investigated and I came to realize that it was true, I entered Islam. Alhamdulillah. Adam, I don't know, how long did it take you before, uh, between being introduced to it directly and entering Islam?
Uh, well, unfortunately, a long time because when I first wanted, like, I've been searching for religion like most of my life. And when
Mhm.
I was a teenager, so I, I guess maybe I was like 14 or 15, I went to a local mosque and they were just so, I mean, they were rude. Like
Yeah,
I
no.
mean, it was like what, 2 or 3 years after 9/11. So I mean, to be fair, I was just this random white boy walking in there, you know. So there were suspicions of what I was doing there, I'm sure, but
Stop,
you
stop,
know,
stop, stop, stop for just one
yeah.
minute. Why? Why? Because you're white,
Big,
right? Because
yeah,
you're just
yeah,
a random white guy. But if that's how we treat every white person that comes to the masjid, and that is how white people are treated at the masjid, right? I remember, and I just, there was a masjid not far from my house. I was there, and these kids were playing in the parking lot, white kids, because it's in a white neighborhood. White kids playing in the parking lot, and the uncle goes out and starts yelling at them, chasing them away. I'm like, wait a minute. We're not supposed to be telling them to get out of here. We're supposed to be saying, come in here, right? And so this is the problem, is that, and this rude behavior is not justified just simply because you're white. But no, look at the psychology. I can understand why, because I was just a random white guy. That's not a
mhm,
justification for the treatment, and
yeah,
that's the importance of these discussions.
yeah.
But go on. I'm sorry, I didn't mean
Yeah.
to interrupt.
So I walked out. I left. I didn't even stay. I was like, well, I mean, obviously they don't want me here, so this can't be the way, you know?
Right.
So I left and then I was didn't go back until I was 24.
Allahu Akbar.
Yeah.
Allahu
So
Akbar.
like 10 years I walked away and didn't go back, you know?
Nah.
Yeah.
Subhanallah. CJ, you said it only took you about a month.
Yeah, it was. That's how I believe. That's how I remember it. I don't believe it took
Um,
long. It really didn't.
No, me, it took me longer. It took me, close to 6 months, and the reason is because, I was trying to prove Islam wrong. I was actually trying to find mistakes and show this Muslim. I wanted to win an argument, and so I was trying to find something that I could show this guy he was wrong, and it just didn't work out that way. Alhamdulillah. But my point in all of that is that we never consciously said, I am a Muslim who believes this, and now I'm going to walk away from it. When we heard the message, we were attracted to it. We investigated. We did due diligence. And I just want to point out, for anybody who has an objection, CJ pointed out that we talked about Islam, and I sent them to the library. Go read. Go find out. Go ask for yourself. It's not like this is the truth and you listen to me. No, investigate. Find out. And so there's due diligence that took place. And once we were convinced, we entered into Islam. We didn't revert because we never left it to begin with. That term revert, if we're going to use it, and this is my advice to both of you, and I'm trying to start a trend here, right? I'm honestly, this is the start of a new trend. We use that term for immigrants and the children of immigrants who come to this country and they leave Islam and they go wild and they act fools, and then they want to come back to Islam. They're the reverts, not us,
Mhm.
right? These immigrants who disobeyed, they were raised as Muslims, they knew the truth, they knew better, and then they acted like disbelievers, and now they want to be uncles in the masjid. They're the reverts, not us, not us. And so we have to normalize that. When we see them, ask them, "Are you a revert?" Right? and
Yeah.
and put them on the spot, because that term fits them. It doesn't fit us, right? And this term convert, it's conventional in English. right? It's conventional in English. So it's normal for me to say, for example, oh, he's a convert to Islam, or he converted to Islam. But as I said, it meaning that there's nothing wrong with it. What it means is you was on one path and you changed your path. You was lost in the woods, and then you seen the white trail. You know, the they got the markers on the trees, or we could say the yellow trail or the red trail. And you started following the markers on the tree to find your way out of that jungle, right? Out of those woods. And so the same exact way, we were in this kind of malaise where we couldn't see the truth, and then God directed us to the truth. So we converted our path to the straight path so that we could find our way, right? And so that's what happened. However, however, we also, I want to, right? And I'll ask you guys' opinion on this. I want to normalize getting rid of that term as well. If somebody says, I actually don't want to use the term at all, right? Period. And the reason is specifically what you said earlier, Adam, and that is that when do you stop being a convert? When do you stop being a convert? And I'll give you the example. And Adam, you have children. So, I mean, CJ has children as well. I know some of his children, but it's a different situation. And so, what I want to say here is that, my daughter is, she's 12 now, 11 or 12. I have 9 kids, man. I can't remember all their
Ooh.
ages. But anyway, I believe she's 12. And her little sister, who is a year younger, when she was 10 and her little sister was 9, they went to the masjid. And they went to the masjid. We take them to the masjid so that they could learn according to a syllabus. And the little girls at the masjid, 90% of them are South Asian. Most of them are Indian or Pakistani. They asked, "Are you a convert to Islam?" And they refer to my daughters as converts to Islam. And my daughters were born into Islam. They're born, they were born as Muslims. They've been raised as Muslims, and yet they still consider them converts. So it's not just me who has been Muslim for over 26 years who's a convert. My children who were born and raised as Muslims are also called converts. So it's not enough that we never shed this title. It then becomes intergenerational that our children, and not, this doesn't happen to African Americans to where their children are called converts. We say, are you first generation or second generation or third generation? We'll ask those questions. But when it comes to a white Muslim, it's just the assumption right off the bat, no matter how young they are, that they're converts. And there's an injustice taking place. And so this is why I say we need to get rid of it completely. And this time I'm going to start with CJ, just to try to be fair. I feel guilty. So what are your thoughts on that, CJ?
Yeah, I mean, I don't, like I said, I don't like labels at all. You know what I mean? And it's definitely unfair to the second, third, fourth generation American born Muslims. Like, for example, your children, you raising them, and I'm going to assume Adam's children as well. You guys raise your children Muslim. Your children have known nothing but Islam. You know what I mean? They didn't convert to anything. Why is this stigma upon them? It's unnecessary.
What about you, Adam?
I mean, yeah, I completely agree. I don't, honestly, I think there's, like you said, we should do away with the term. I should just be Muslim, and absolutely my kids should be just Muslim. But I honestly haven't had that actual problem. Around here, nobody has ever called my children converts. I mean, I've never really been in a conversation with somebody where they would, I think, have had the opportunity. So who knows what, it might happen. Who knows? But
no.
Yeah. So
wait till they become teenagers and they go off
yeah.
on their own, and this
Right.
is when it'll happen, mashallah.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it's never happened when, the parents are present. These are children amongst children, which also raises the big question that has always been in my mind, is where they even learned this term. Because they're all peers. They're all 9, 10, 11 years old. So where did this term convert ever get picked up, and why was it applied in this way? But yeah, no, alhamdulillah. May Allah protect our offspring. Ameen. Ameen.
I
Um,
mean,
what I wanted to say is that getting rid of that term, right? You both already said this. Just call us Muslim. We're just Muslim. right? And the reality is that when the companions, and this is what I think that a lot of people seem to forget, is that the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the best generation, they were all converts to Islam. They all entered Islam, but the terms that they used were specific. So they would say dakaltul Islam, I entered Islam, or they would say aslamtu, I submitted, I surrendered myself to God, or they would say, for example, who a Muslim, he's a Muslim, and this type of thing. So they didn't use these terms as a way of differentiating generationally. Oh, he's new to the deen, but he's been a Muslim for 20 years. Even later on, if we read in the time of the Tabi'een, you'll see dakaltu Islam or dakhal al Islam, he entered Islam. You won't see that he's a convert. And this is, it's no stigma to them. Rather, it's a matter of he entered Islam, therefore he is a Muslim, right?
Hmm.
And so we have to normalize this. I entered Islam, he entered Islam, he surrendered to Allah. Or somebody said the other day, we was in this conversation, they said, can I use accepted Islam? Of course. I accepted Islam, I embraced Islam, he embraced Islam, this type of thing, and then just we're Muslim, right? What are your thoughts on that? Either one.
Uh, yeah, I agree with that completely. Also, I mean, I don't know why, but it makes me think of even like, there's the hadith where one of the commandment companions came to the prophet, and he's I don't remember exactly the question or whatever, but he says, who do you something about like who do you want to be with in paradise? He says, my brothers. And he said, well, aren't we your brothers? And he said, well, yes, but you see me and you follow me. That's easy. I want to be with the people who will be so far removed from me that following me is hard. It's like, well, aren't the people who embrace Islam even, isn't that even more so the people he would be wanting to see? Because, you know, even the people who were born Muslim, they had Islam their whole life. So they didn't see him and they're still holding on to it. But I didn't even see a Muslim thing happen, ever until I was like in my 20s, I never really saw a Muslim, you know. So, and then I embraced Islam. So it's just like, are we not, sort of exactly what he was talking about?
Well, I
Are,
do want to say, I do want to say that we are exactly what he's talking about, but I don't want to say just us, right? And
right.
so
No.
I'm
Yeah.
differentiating. No,
Yeah.
I'm differentiating here simply to say that all of the Muslims in our age, right?
Mhm.
All of the
Yeah.
Muslims in our age are included. Those who come later and they don't meet me and yet they believe in me and they follow me, right? And so, alhamdulillah, the beauty here, and this is the beauty, is that you brought a beautiful term, mashallah. I might start using this if I can fit it into conversations. I am the brother of the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam,
Right.
right? Because he
Yeah.
said, I can't wait to meet my brothers, right? I can't wait to meet my brothers. And they said, aren't we your brothers? And he said, no, my brothers are those who come later and they don't see me, but they believe in me and follow me. So maybe we should start calling ourselves brothers of Rasul sallallahu. I'm just, alhamdulillah. But no, that's a beautiful point. That's a beautiful point. Alhamdulillah. CJ, if you have any thoughts, inshallah.
Not really. I don't really have
Alhamdulillah.
anything to add on this. You guys have basically said everything I can come to mind with.
All right, so CJ, I'm gonna make you think for a minute. I mean, I want to say this. I know CJ very well, and Adam, I'm gonna say uh, how can I say this? I don't want to make you feel out of place because me and CJ are old friends or anything like that. So if I make you uncomfortable, please forgive me. Alhamdulillah. But I know CJ well enough to know that he's very opinionated, right? And if you get him talking about something, he will go on, right? And he's opinionated to the point where he will speak matter of factly on a point and talk you down, which is one of the reasons I wanted him on this, so that in the future when we get into conversations where there are hot topic issues, we can have somebody that's a little bit more heated than we are. I see that you tend to be laid back, Adam, and I need that. I need that balance, inshallah.
Inshallah.
But what I want to say here is that CJ, we have people who are they're Muslims from Muslim lands, and maybe they immigrated here, and maybe they still live in their Muslim lands, but they'll say about you, they'll say about me, they'll say about the white convert to Islam, and they say this specifically about the white convert to Islam, not the African American convert, not the Latino convert, simply the white convert to Islam, that we are live action role playing, LARPing. We are live action role playing as Muslims, right? So what is your thought on that?
MashaAllah. If I'm gonna LARP, it's gonna be Dungeons and Dragons, but that's besides the point.
That's right.
Honestly, yeah, this is what you wanted. Their opinion doesn't matter to me. I don't care. The only being whose opinion matters to me is the one who knows my heart the best, and that's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I just
That's it?
honestly I
Oh, okay.
don't. I don't care. When
Good.
I first converted to Islam, I went to visit my grandmother on her deathbed. I walked out the room and she gave a tangent to my then wife that, oh, he's not a Muslim. Whatever. I didn't go in and storm in there and be some type of a uber aggressive, verbal, assaultive type person that I can be. That's your opinion. That's your problem. That's your ignorance. I don't have to answer for that.
Alhamdulillah. How about you, Adam?
I mean, I would also say I don't care what they think about me. I would though also say I do though care about their way of thinking and how that will affect other people like me,
Mm.
who maybe like me are going to come into the mosque and not feel like they're welcome, and so they never come back. So we do have to change their way of thinking. Like, and also, like, I mean, honestly, aren't they all LARPing, man? Like,
Yeah, no.
unless they're actually Arab, aren't they all like dressing like Arabs and LARPing?
Well,
So
you actually brought up a really good point here, and that's one of the things that we could say no to that, right? And I'll play the devil's advocate just for a moment and say one of the most beautiful things to me in Islam is that there is room for personal expression, right? There is room for us to express ourselves
it's not
and
culturally
be
predatory.
ourselves. Exactly. It is not culturally predatory at all. And so what we find, and I always point to the women, because in the women it's more apparent than the men. That if you look at the women of Morocco, they don't dress like the women of Mali, who don't dress like the women of Nigeria, who don't dress like the women of Egypt, and you go all the way across to China, and you find the Muslim women. They're all following the Sharia. They're all dressing according to the principles, right? But they're not all. They don't have to look alike. They all have their own flavor. They all have their own cultural expression. And so what I would say is this attack on white converts, calling us LARPers, if you will, then this is actually it should instigate, it should spark in us a desire, a yearning to develop our own culture, right? What is it that we could do that keeps our own flavor but also identifies us as Muslim? And I'll joke with them for you for a moment. I had the honor to travel with one of my shuyukh, Sheikh Hassan al-Katani of Morocco, may Allah preserve him, Ameen. And he would joke with me sometimes and say that I had the American uniform because I would have my Tims on, or whatever shoes I was wearing at the time. I would have my thobe on, and then I'd have a dicky shirt over my thobe, and then I would have my cap on. I keep my kufi on because when I gotta pray, I gotta take this off, right? So I have this on, I have this over top, I have my dicky shirt, I have my Tims. And the dicky shirt is down thigh length. It's not down to my knees, but it's also not showing my behind. And so when I prostrate, or when I do ruku, when I bow in my prayer, my backside is not going to show. And so he would refer to this. He would jokingly say, in a loving way, that this is the American uniform. And having said that, and I could say that, yeah, it's American and it's inner city. So it's not going to be fitting for everybody. Everybody's not going to be comfortable, but we should have this desire to have this ideal. And actually, one of the reasons that I keep these caps, I like turbans. I like turbans. I like other things, but one of the reasons I keep this cap is that I need people to recognize that I might look different, I might behave different, but I'm an American, right? Not just I didn't come here. I'm 5 generations deep. My family came here in 1865, right? So the fact of the matter is that I am American, born and raised here. This is all I know. But I need people to identify that I am American and also I am Muslim. And so we have to develop something that gives this information to the people.
Me and my buddy are trying to set off the doctor cap as the American kufi, man.
What's the doctor cap? Can I see it? Oh, I got one over there. I call that the
Yeah.
Chinese cap, right? It makes me
Oh
feel
yeah.
like a kung fu warrior.
Yeah.
That's nice.
But
Oh no.
like Dr. Umar Farouk
Mhm.
Abdullah, he writes very
Hafizahullah.
extensively about that issue. It's like we need to create an American cultural identity, you know. And I even found like this shirt I'm wearing is made by an African American Muslim couple, and it's just a button-up collarless shirt, but it's
Mm.
long, and they make them long for Muslims, but it's
Alhamdulillah.
American style, and that's like I think that's very important that we have
Where
that because, like
where
you said, everywhere.
where can people get that from?
It's called the modestyshop.com.
Okay, alhamdulillah.
Yeah,
People look into that because this is what we need. This is precisely what we need. We need American garments where Americans can feel it's part of who we are and it's also produced by Americans. This is important for us as a community, inshallah. Alhamdulillah. Modestyshop.com. Alhamdulillah. And the cap, you said you're kicking it off.
well, I got the idea you from a brother who lives here. You know him, but I won't say his
I'm
name because I
actually
don't want to. Yeah,
I'm going to mention him, and
yeah,
the reason I'm going to mention him is just because for a different reason, and that is Shane, right?
yeah,
Alhamdulillah, he now he needs astaghfirullah. He's actually done something that we need to do, and that's he started even producing American nasheed, right? American
oh yeah,
songs praising the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is something I tell people to do. If you got the ability to write poetry that can be sung, like songs and things like that, we need our people to write songs that we can sing, that we
yeah.
can relate to, that we can appreciate, in rhythms that appeal to us as a people. And I seen Shane just recently, may Allah increase him in good. I mean, he just recently got a grant to do research on music. Like I forget exactly what it is. Well, I want to say Appalachian type music. What is it? Folk music, right? Or do you know?
Yeah, Appalachian folk music, like
Yeah, no.
yeah.
And so he's going to tie that into the Islamic tradition somehow. And I think that this is what we need. This is
Well,
really what we need.
he has 2 songs on Spotify.
I do know. I do
Yeah,
know.
and
And
really
now,
he has 3 because I have one of his songs on Spotify that I did.
alhamdulillah.
It's bad, but it's on there.
Mashallah, may Allah make it better. I mean, but the
Mhm.
fact is that this is what we need is that we need to develop our own culture, our own type of food. And people again, people will joke with us as white people and say, we don't use flavor, we don't use seasoning and stuff like that. And these attacks, they are what they are. They could be funny, but they're still attacks, right? I had a brother who he's from Texas, he's overseas studying. I won't go into any details. He came to visit me before he went back overseas, and we was driving around. I was going to take him to a halal spot, one halal spot, then another, and then another. And he was like, you know what? Do you want biryani? Do you want some Yemeni food? Do you want this? He said, is there any place I could just get a cheeseburger? Right? I just want a cheeseburger. And that's that. When I was up in Pittsburgh, when I've traveled to Pittsburgh before, there used to be a halal sub shop, not a sub shop, but like a breakfast spot where you could go get fried chicken, fish, cheesesteaks, all of these things. It was a Muslim owned spot, Muslim run spot, all halal, all American food. And this we need our own food, our own music, our own clothes. We have to develop our own culture. In reality, this is something that is on us to do. It's on us to do. And the reason I brought all this up is because if we're if we're not taking the culture of other people, but we're developing our own culture, purifying it through the Sharia, right? And then living our Islam in our own culture, then nobody can accuse us of anything, because they're going to be seeing pure Islam come from us, but within our own cultural boundaries. And this is what we have to develop. This is what we have to develop. Alhamdulillah. MashaAllah, I think that the point of this whole conversation is that we have to get the message out that we are not converts to Islam. We're Muslims, right? We're definitely not reverts, right? But we're also not converts. Now, there's one point that I want to